Yeah, the clock is ticking. Time's running out for Colorado lawmakers. The 120-day legislative session is over on Thursday, and some of the biggest topics are being saved for last. And joining us to talk about some of the last-minute wheelings and dealings down at the state capitol, a reporter who knows it all very well, Marianne Goodland from the Colorado Independent. And so thank you so much for being here to kind of keep us apprised of what's happening. I think the big issue right now is the hospital provider fee.
Correct.
They've come to terms on this?
They did. They came up with a really sweeping agreement on Thursday that covers everything from business personal property tax to Medicaid copays to saving rural hospitals and the hospitals around the state from big budget cuts, and transportation and rural schools. I mean, it's the governor refers to it as a Christmas tree. It's got something in it for everybody, something everyone likes, something everybody doesn't like.
And there's a lot of give and take on this one.
Incredible amounts of give and take. You look at where they started off back at the end of March on this, and the bill that came out yesterday was pretty dramatically different. It didn't, Medicaid copays, for example, the Democrats were initially very much opposed to that.
Because they upped it.
They did. They doubled it.
Yeah.
Currently, Medicaid patients pay $1 for prescriptions and $2 for outpatient visits, and that's going to double. But it's well below what Republicans initially sought, which was to go to the federal maximum, which would have quadrupled some of those payments.
And the rural schools, how do they benefit from this?
They are going to get a $30 million boost, one-time money, in the 2017-18 budget, and then the State Education Fund will get $20 million a year for the next couple of years after that.
Okay, so where does this bill sit?
It cleared the Senate on its preliminary vote on Friday. It will get a final vote on Monday in the Senate, and then it heads to the House.
Okay. There's a budget.
There's a budget. They certainly waited a very long time to get this done. The final approval didn't happen until this week, and that final approval included the budget cut that is going to hit hospitals without this provider fee fix. That's a cut of $264 million, and when you match it with federal dollars, it turns into a $500,000 cut. So the provider fee is what people are hoping is going to undo that damage before it happens.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the other issues. Transportation was huge throughout this session. Where are we with transportation then?
We are nowhere.
Right.
There is nothing going to come out of the legislature this year on that issue. The transportation bill, the bipartisan bill that they had been working on for some time, died about a week and a half ago. Now we have a half dozen or so ballot measures that are being pushed by groups like the Independence Institute and the Colorado Contractors Association. And at some point, they'll make their final selection about which one they want to go with. The contractors want to go pretty much with something very similar to what the transportation bill in the legislature did, which was to seek a sales tax increase to pay for projects.
To put it to a vote of the people.
And that will go to the ballot in November if they get everything done in the process. The Independence Institute's approach is to look at using existing state revenues to fund those transportation projects.
All right, so the oil and gas industry making big news in Colorado ever since that home explosion.
And big news at the Capitol, too. We had a bill that was introduced on Friday by Representative Mike Foote, who has been a proponent of banning fracking and similar issues to that. He asked that lawmakers take a look at a measure that would review and set up a database that would look at mapping all these oil and gas wells and those flow lines that led to that explosion in Firestone.
Because it was the governor that had raised this issue, we didn't think it was going to come up before the legislature, especially since our session is about to end.
Correct. You can get a bill through the legislature in 3 days. So the big question will be what kind of opposition Republicans put up against such a measure, knowing that Firestone is going to be thrown back on them every time they bring it up.
Do you think that will move through, Marianne?
That's a tough one. I think it'll definitely clear the House. What will happen to it in the Senate is a real big if.
Okay, what else could happen before the end of the week?
We have a pretty big rewrite of the state's energy policy that is moving through. It's in the Senate right now. And this would shift the state's focus from renewables to more traditional forms of energy. The sponsor, Senator Ray Scott of Grand Junction, is pushing for the state to go back and look at nuclear energy, which we haven't had in Colorado since 1989.
Wow. So as this legislature wraps up, what will it be remembered for? Are there memorable moments? What have they accomplished?
What stands out for me in this legislature is how bipartisan it has been, and that's kind of a reversal from some of the last couple of years at least, and particularly in the state Senate. You've seen a lot of very major bipartisan issues, or issues dealt with in a bipartisan manner that you haven't seen. And that to me was striking, because there was a researcher from Princeton who said back in January that he thought Colorado had the most partisan legislature in the country. And this year, I think, has been the exact opposite of that.
Wow, don't hear that very often. All right, Marianne Goodland from the Colorado Independent, thank you for your insight, and we'll see what the legislature ends up with soon enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay with us. When we come back, we'll talk to candidate for governor Mike Johnston.